Is not well.
With the current state of the economy and the resulting attrition in the public opinion polls, is President Bush vulnerable to defeat? Many Democrats believe the answer is yes. To date, 6 men have tossed their hats into the ring. The announced candidates are former Massachusetts Senator Paul Tsongas, Senator Bob Kerrey of Nebraska, Arkansas's Governor Bill Clinton, repeat candidate former California Governor Jerry Brown, Virginia's Governor Douglas Wilder, and Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa. Still sitting on the fence are Reverend Jesse Jackson and the proverbial Hamlet of candidates, New York Governor Mario Cuomo. Cuomo's reluctance in particular is hurting the Democratic campaign momentum. Will he take the plunge? And to talk to this, meet Chris Black. You've read her words. For 13 years, she's covered presidential elections for the Globe. Good morning, Chris. And Jeff Jacoby. Jeff is the chief editorial writer for the Herald. Will Cuomo run, or will he run away? That really is the question. What do you think?
Well, I don't think anyone can predict, because I'm not sure Mario Cuomo knows. But if he does get in, I think that will be a huge impact in the race. He is a candidate of national stature, and it will really sort of throw all the cards up in the air.
What do you think, Jeff?
Cuomo's been talking lately about his heart being ready, but his head not really being there. We're all waiting to find out where his spleen and his liver are. I'm not sure if what he needs is a visit to the doctor or simply to make a decision about something and move ahead and do it.
Well, wait a minute. Could it be that he does know, but he doesn't want you to know he knows? In other words, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, if you look back at history, waited until December of 1931 to get into the race, had a very short campaign, and was still nominated. Could Cuomo do the same thing?
Well, I think it's very difficult for governors. I mean, it's difficult for anybody to run for president because it's a grueling thing. It tests you like you've never been tested before. But for governors, it's very, very difficult, especially if they like their jobs. Michael Dukakis, for example, went through a very agonizing process of deciding to run for president, in part because he didn't want to sort of give up his job here in Massachusetts.
And Cuomo says the same thing.
Precisely. I think that's real.
But there are even more differences between 1991 and 1931. Today, you've got to deal with so many more things like filing deadlines and grassroots organization and fundraisers to a much greater extent than candidates for president had to deal with back then. This is no longer the era in which you get a handful of party power brokers who are going to come to a convention and have great big blocks of uncommitted votes that they can swing back and forth. It doesn't work that way anymore. We decide what happens at the convention before the convention is convened.
Fair to say that voters all across this country are very disenchanted. It's almost as if some say no one can make a difference. And you look at Bush, and the Democrats say, Ron Brown particularly says he has an economic recovery policy for the Soviet Union, Kuwait, and Eastern Europe, but what about America? What will go on inside the Democratic Party as things evolve now that the race has really started with yesterday's talking in New Hampshire? What will be the issues? Economics?
Well, I think that's true. The Democratic Party is in the process of developing a compelling message. I mean, I think the one thing that we've learned in the last few presidential campaigns is that money and logistics are not the be-all and end-all of campaigns. What matters in the person who wins is the one with the most compelling message. And I think that that's what's going to be the key in '92. And the message will probably be focused on economic issues, domestic concerns.
If I were a Democratic campaign strategist, and I hasten to add I'm not, I think I would dust off Ronald Reagan's line against Jimmy Carter. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? We are now in the midst of a Bush recession brought on by an immense explosion in federal spending, an increase in taxes, all of which George Bush, the candidate, was supposed to be against. Democrats have got a powerful weapon there if only they can hone it and make use of it.
What about David Duke? Because some say that Duke is speaking Reagan's words once again, and that he actually has gotten where he's gotten because the voters are so angry, and he speaks to their anger.
Well, whenever the economy is this bad and is bad for a sustained period of time, people are much more susceptible to a racist message, frankly. And I think that it's a bigger problem for the Republicans, frankly, than the Democrats at this point.
I wonder about that. The Republicans have got the embarrassment of David Duke to deal with. Democrats, maybe not so much this year, but in years past have had the embarrassment of Louis Farrakhan to deal with. As Chris says, you will always find the haters and the racists who will come out of the woodwork to make scapegoats and to point blame. I don't think that the issues of this presidential race are going to be fought at the David Duke level. It's going to be something a little more elevated.
Well, we're out of time, but I hope that you'll both come back and we can talk to the progress of the campaign as it progresses.